Okay, run and get a blanket and come and sit with me and I'll read a story. This is about people who lived in Alaska and a dog named Grizzly Bear. Mrs. Pat Gracious looked out the window of her one-room cabin. The ground outside was covered with snow and ice. "I'm really glad for that warm stove," she said to herself. "We'd freeze up here in Alaska without it." Pat looked down at her 2-year-old daughter, Teresa. She was sound asleep. Beside Teresa was Pat's big pet dog, Grizzly Bear. He, too, was taking a rest. Pat smiled. "That dog looks like a real grizzly bear," she said. "He even lumbers like a bear. It's good that he's gentle." Just then Pat heard a sound. It came from behind the cabin. "What's that?" she asked herself. Pat stopped and listened. "Bow, wow, 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 bow, wow." "It's Honey Bear again," she said. "I wish that little dog of ours would stop barking." "Bow, wow, wow, wow." The barking grew louder and louder. "I'll bet Honey Bear is all tangled up in the chain," said Pat. "Sometimes I think that little dog tries to get all tangled up. She knows that's how to make me bring her into the house." Pat decided to take a look. "Come on, Grizzly Bear," she said. "Get up." Her big dog shook his head and slowly stood up. "Let's go out and see what Honey Bear wants. I've never heard that little dog make so much noise before." Pat stepped out with Grizzly Bear beside her. "I'd better leave the front door open," she thought. "That way I'll be able to hear if Teresa wakes up." As Pat and Grizzly Bear rounded the corner of the house, they saw a tiny bear cub. It was looking right at them. "How cute," thought Pat. "That little thing isn't any bigger than Honey Bear." And all at once Pat stopped smiling. A look of fear filled her eyes. The mother bear must be close by, very close by, she thought. Mother bears always stay near their cubs. Then Pat remembered. The front door was still open. Little Teresa was there, all alone, sound asleep. "I'd better get back inside the cabin, and soon," Pat whispered to herself. She raced around the corner, but it was too late. There was the huge mother bear only a few feet in front of her. "There's no way I can get back inside," thought Pat. Just then the huge grizzly bear stood up on her hind legs and roared. Pat froze. Her eyes opened wide. "She's as big as a mountain," Pat gasped. The grizzly bear rushed at Pat. As Pat tried to get away, she slipped and fell flat on her back. Bang! Her head hit the ice. Everything seemed to spin around. Pat was fainting. The grizzly opened her mouth wide, flashing huge fangs. Just then Pat's big dog charged into the bear, knocking the huge animal backward. Back and forth they battled. While the dog and the grizzly were fighting, Pat came to and crawled to the porch. Once again Pat's head began to spin. Once more everything grew dark for her. When Pat came to again, her big dog was licking her face. It was Grizzly Bear's way of saying, "Wake up, wake up." Slowly Pat began to remember what had happened. The cub, the grizzly, the fight. Then she screamed, "Teresa! Teresa!" She got to her feet and ran into the cabin. There was baby Teresa, still sound asleep. Pat and her big dog looked out the window. The grizzly and her cub were nowhere to be seen. Pat went out and brought little Honey Bear into the room. Honey Bear barked and wagged her tail, happy to be inside the cabin. Pat smiled and gave Grizzly Bear a hug. "When I named you Grizzly Bear," she chuckled, "I never dreamed you'd save Teresa and me from a real grizzly bear. You know, Grizzly Bear, I think you could beat King Kong." The end.